Welcome to Sex Ed with DB. I'm your host, DB. Let's get into it. If you've been waiting for a sign to finally try that new vibe you keep thinking about, this is it. Whether you're new to sex toys or you got a whole nightstand full of them, Lion's Den has something that can surprise and delight you, and maybe even unlock a new level of pleasure. They've been in the game for over 50 years, with 50 plus stores across the US, hundreds of trusted brands, and a knowledgeable staff that actually knows what they're talking about. And if you prefer to shop from home, their online store is stacked with options, plus discreet shipping and live customer support when you browse. From solo exploration to partnered play, from curiosity to kink, Lion's Den is here to help you feel good, supported, and totally in control. Use code SEXEDWITHDB for 15% off at lionsden.com or in store. Prioritize your pleasure. You deserve it.
Calling all pleasure seekers. Are you ready to unlock your full potential and live a life of unapologetic joy? We're thrilled to invite you to our exclusive Desert Retreat for All, hosted by us, Amy and April from the Shameless Sex Podcast. Imagine escaping to a luxurious desert villa near Palm Springs, California for 3 days of sun-kissed bliss, September 11th through the 14th. This is not an orgy or a sex party, everyone. It is an all-inclusive retreat designed to help you break free from the ordinary and discover your unique pleasure blueprint.
Enjoy immersive workshops, poolside lounging, and unforgettable activities in a safe, judgment-free space. Whether you're flying solo, paired up, or bringing your besties, our pleasure paradise is the perfect haven to explore, connect, and thrive. Don't miss this rare opportunity to transform your life and join a community of like-minded individuals. This retreat is almost full and will sell out, so secure your spot now at shamelesssex.com and see for yourself why past attendees have called this retreat an unfucking believable experience.
Hello, DB here, your favorite sex educator and pleasure expert. Let's go ahead and dive right into DB's pleasure preview, where I give you a little taste of what we're diving into today, what the science has to say, and how it might just change the way that you think about sex. In this episode, we are delving into different types of orgasms. Why? Because this is where so many people get stuck. We get DMs and emails from people like you all the time, people who are saying, I've never had an orgasm, is something wrong with me? I can only come one way and I feel weird about it. Or I thought orgasms were supposed to feel different. And honestly, this makes a lot of sense. Most of us were not taught about orgasms in sex ed at all. Or if we were, it was some bullshit version of what it looks like to orgasm with a partner. So you are not alone. Don't worry, I'm here to help. And so is our beautiful guest, who I'll tell you more about in a second. I know for me, growing up watching all kinds of hetero sex scenes in movies and TV shows, the man would be on top of the woman, he would groan a bunch as he came, and then he would roll off of her without her displaying any type of orgasm or true pleasure. This is what we talk about also in today's episode. And this led me to believe that women's pleasure not only didn't happen when a partner was there, but that it should not be prioritized, which is wrong. It is bullshit. And despite me knowing how to make myself orgasm since I was younger, I really didn't know how it would go when someone else joined in on the fun. And when I started becoming sexually active with other people during my senior year of high school, it became very clear to me that I would need someone else's fingers or a mouth in order to reach orgasm. And then as I got older, a toy. I wish I had seen that depicted in the countless movies and TV shows that I watched back then, so I could know from an early age that PV sex just wasn't going to cut it for me. And PV sex isn't going to cut it for most vulva owners. Plus, there are so many ways to achieve different kinds of orgasms. And here's the thing, science is finally catching up to what so many of us have known for a long, long time. Orgasms are not one size fits all. And there are many different types, which we'll talk about today. Researchers like sexologist Dr. Beverly Whipple and neuroscientist Dr. Barry Komisaruk have identified a range of orgasmic responses in people with vulvas, including clitoral, vaginal, cervical, anal, nipple, blended, a combination of two or more types, and even orgasms triggered solely by fantasy or breathwork, what some refer to as mental or core orgasms. In fact, fMRI studies show that different areas of the brain activate depending on where and how a person is stimulated, suggesting that these orgasm types are not just subjective feelings, they have distinct neurological signatures. A recent 2023 study done by Katharina Whitekamp and Fabienne Werley added that many women reported a variety of orgasmic experiences across different contexts. And they argue that our current language, like clitoral versus vaginal, is actually way too limiting. Their research calls for a more expansive and inclusive framework to better reflect the diversity of real-life pleasure. And we know from neuroscience studies that orgasms release a powerful mix of feel-good chemicals, like oxytocin, dopamine, and endorphins, which can help relieve pain, boost the mood, and deepen emotional connection. On our very own Magic Wand study from our first episode this season, that backed that up, showing just how much solo pleasure can contribute to overall well-being. All of this reinforces why it's so important to turn to the experts, because so much of what we've been taught about orgasms is incomplete at best and flat out wrong at worst. We need trusted voices to help expand the conversation, validate diverse experiences, and deepen our collective understanding of pleasure. Enter sexologist Goody Howard. Goody Howard is a world-renowned sexologist, educator, and consultant. She has dedicated her life to, quote, empowering through sexual exploration, education, and awareness. She teaches about 20 types of orgasms. Yes, 20. And she is here to help us throw that limited definition out of the window with a fresh start. She believes that sexual pleasure is sexual health and that everyone deserves access to both. Stick around. You do not want to miss this conversation. I'm going to take a sip of water, I'll take a deep breath, and then I will welcome you to the show. Goody Howard is here with us today. Hello, Goody. How you doing?
Hi. How are you?
Great now that you're here. I feel like the first time that you came on Sex Ed with DB, as soon as we hung up, I was like, I gotta have Goody back on. So I'm really glad that you're here today.
That brings me joy.
Oh, good. Good. Well, we're here to talk about 20 types of orgasms today, which I am so excited to learn from you about all of the information that you have to tell us. But before we even dive into that, we're going to start with our first segment called The Quick and Dirty. The Quick and Dirty is our rapid fire segment where we get to know our expert with bold questions, honest answers, and just enough spice. And so the first one that I just want like a quick, let's try to even do like either one word or one sentence is
Okay.
what's one orgasm type that people constantly overlook?
Nipple.
I hoped that you would say that, and I can't wait to discuss that further. What about the most surprising place that the body can experience pleasure?
I'm going to say like inner elbows and like the backs of the knees.
Ooh, that's a good one. I really want to delve into that a little bit more because I feel like I haven't heard anyone say that before. But can really, I'm just picturing my inner elbows and backs of knees. Do you think it's because of the anticipation or because it's such a different spot? Or yeah, what do you think?
I think because it's such an underutilized, like you don't think about the inside of your elbows and the backs of your knees, and so they are very sensitive because they never get really used. You know what I'm saying? So
Right.
once someone like kisses or licks or bites or any of that, it's like, oh wait, that's a part of my body too.
And that can also be delicious and super fun and lead to
Correct.
pleasure.
Mhm.
Okay, the last question we have from the quick and dirty is what is one orgasm myth that you wish people would just let go of right now?
That just inserting something into your body is going to bring you to orgasm. Just the in and out
Please, can
motion.
we
It's
get rid of this? Why? Goody. Why is this still our 2025 destiny that people think that just will get us there?
because penis. Because penis. Yes,
Because penis.
penis. Because the global conversation around pleasure is penis shaped, and it's
Yes.
at the center. And so people that are having sex that don't involve penises, people that have sex that maybe there's some sort of vulva worship or yoni worship happening, like there's so many ways to have sex and have pleasure outside of just a penis that I think, the patriarchy and all the things, like the in and out of it all. And because, unfortunately, manhood is rooted in, penis size and things like that. Like it's so intrinsically connected that I think, it's just the nature of the way culture has moved thus far. And we're expanding. I tell people all the time, I don't want to change. We are expanding our understanding of sex, health, and pleasure and what that can look like.
Mhm.
So, the expansion is happening.
Thank God. Well, really thank
Yeah.
educators because they're the ones that are doing the work. But okay, so this is all super helpful to start, but we're gonna go back now and
Mhm.
start with the basics, really,
Okay.
because Goody, when you say there are 20 types of orgasms, what do you mean? What are we really talking about here?
Science and whole shit, right? That's the name of the book series I'm working on. And science has not yet caught up with whole shit, right? Like there are only a few medical books that even include the clitoris. So
Right.
because we're learning more about the body every day, we're learning more about what pleasure can look like every day. And like, oh, that's an orgasm type, or oh, that, so something that like I found out penises can squirt.
They can.
Not even
Like,
like seminal fluid or, ejaculate, like a whole nother kind of fluid.
since when? When did this
Listen,
begin?
I'm learning more about the penis squirting, and I learned about muffing, where muffing is testicular stimulation. So the testicles have these two canals behind them where, they go into the body, etc. Well, if you have two well lubricated fingers, you can like finger those holes
Oh, wow.
to the orgasm.
Wow, the body is incredible.
I learned that I learned it at Sex Down South, but it was a workshop on muffing, and it was like for sex with trans women. And I was just like, I need to know this. I have to know. What?
Wow.
So yes, and it's amazing because the body is amazing.
Tell me, let's go right in on the list. Like let's do
Okay.
this.
Okay, so the lists.
Yes.
We have anal, oral, clitoral, vaginal, cervical, G spot, U spot, A spot, P spot,
Wait, we're
birthgasm.
going too fast. Okay, let's start from the beginning. You said let's do the first 5.
Okay, anal, oral, vaginal, clitoral, and cervical.
Okay. Ooh, okay. Cervical is a really interesting
Mm.
one. Okay. All right, continue.
And then we have the G spot, the U spot, the A spot,
You spot.
the P spot, and the birthgasm.
Okay, a lot of letters. We're gonna get through that. We have birth.
Mhm.
Okay, wow. Okay, that's 10.
Yes. Then we have squirting, nipple, frenulum, pelvic and sleepgasm, prostate, coregasm, erogenous zone, skingasm, and blended orgasm.
Oh my god. Okay, so what would you say are like the most common ones that people think that they experience or like are talking about, would you say?
I would definitely say the clitoral because that's like the most common one.
Uh-huh.
And the frenulum, which is on the penis, it's the tip of the penis. And so most penis owners, the orgasm starts at the tip and works its way back into the body. So the frenulum is essentially the clitoris of the penis. So the frenulum orgasm and the clitoral orgasm are the most common. And then I would say anal because people are having, anal sex and exploring that part of their body. Those are 3 that I think are most common for people.
Okay. Let's go through and maybe define some of them because maybe people haven't heard of some of them. So let's go through maybe all of the letter ones and could you define each of those?
Absolutely, absolutely. So G spot, U spot, A spot, P spot. So the G spot is the Grafenberg spot, which is 2 inches into the vaginal canal and up. And then the U spot is there's a ring of nerve endings around the urethra that it can stimulate orgasm. So like if you've ever had to pee really, really, really bad, you're like, oh, I gotta pee, and you finally pee and you're like, whoo, like it feels crazy good. That's a U spot orgasm.
Oh, wow.
An A spot orgasm is the anterior fornix orgasm, and that is on the clitoris. I mean, on the cervix. So if the person is laying on their back, the cervix is in and down. So it's going to be, if this is the cervix, the anterior fornix is at the bottom. So that's the A spot, and so that feels like if you've ever been having insertive sex and you have a vulva, then that emotional rush orgasm where you feel like you want to cry or you want to tell them you love them, and it may not be that you love them, it may just be that you love what they're doing to you. But saying that really emotional rush where you're just like, oh my god, like there may be tears, that is an A spot orgasm.
Wow.
And then the P spot is it's the external access to the prostate. So I have the P spot and prostate orgasms listed separately because the P spot is on, if you have a penis, it's right behind the testicles. It's on the seam right between the back of the testicles and the beginning of the anus. So the perineum, gooch, taint, whatever you want to call it. If you have you could press your thumb into the seam, put your fingerprint on the seam. Don't go back and forth because you might get a little anus, and unless you had that conversation, you know what I'm saying? You don't want to have that conversation right then, right? So you want to
beforehand, yes.
You got some upright and closed conversation that has to happen, right? So you want to press your thumb into the seam, and so you can feel like a walnut-sized gland. That is the prostate. So you can actually stimulate the prostate externally. So to me, the P spot is the external stimulation of the prostate, whereas the prostate orgasm comes as a result of internal, like reaching into the anus 2 inches in and down to stimulate the prostate that way.
Wow. Okay. So I feel like Dr. Seuss of like A spot, P spot, G spot, U spot. And in terms of, let's talk about the sleepgasm. I'm so curious about this one. Is this orgasming while you are sleeping?
Yes. So it is maybe wet dream, the combination of wet dream, and everyone has those. So I know people think that only penises have wet dreams. Vulvas do too. But if you ever had a dream where you came in your dream and it felt so real, or maybe you came so hard that you woke up, like those are sleepgasms.
Wow. I feel like, yeah, like wet dreams, usually I feel like in puberty when we were learning that in school, that was only like, this is what boys do. Penises have wet dreams, where in reality, I definitely feel like I'm dreaming and I'm having sex in my dream and I reach orgasm in my dream. And I do wonder if I'm also orgasming while I'm sleeping.
Probably.
So curious. Probably.
if it's a good one.
If it's a good one.
Probably.
Okay, what are some of the other ones that you mentioned that we haven't delved into quite yet? You said, let's talk about the nipplegasm, because I feel like in the quick and dirty, you mentioned that one is one that people overlook it, but I feel like it's a powerful one. So let's talk about that one.
So nipple orgasms they're not easy to achieve, but they are achievable as long as you have nipples. And most people have nipples outside of medical intervention, right? And so the nipples are attached to the same part of the brain as the genitals. Fun fact. Wow. So stimulating the nipples, arousal, there can even be like a release of fluid from the nipples, even in people with penises during this sort of stimulation and climax period. But it can be stimulated with, the mouth. You can do all kinds of stuff. Manual stimulation. Clit sucking toys make great nipple sucking toys. I think I tell people when I talk about the rose, I always mention that it makes a great nipple sucking toy. Yes. And I think people don't really understand the nipple orgasm, but it's like I said, the nipples are attached to the same part of the body, same part of the brain as the genitals, and so they react the same way to stimulation. And so essentially, it's just being connected to your body, being aware of your pleasure, and enjoying the interaction that you're having.
Yes. And why do you think that there is just like shame around nipple stimulation, or people just don't know that it feels as good? Like, what do you think is around it being overlooked?
I think it's just an unawareness. I think nipples are part of foreplay, but I don't think people understand that nipples can also be included in orgasm. I think it's sort of like on the trail to on the road trip. It's a stop on the road trip to the orgasm town, right? So
Right.
they're not viewing it as, a suburb of orgasm town. They're viewing it as, the world's biggest yarn on the road trip on the way, right? So, I think if we included it more, especially people with vulvas. I think we're very aware that our nipples include a certain level of pleasure for us. What I'm coming to discover for more masculine centered folks is that because nipples are typically feminized in our culture because, we use them to feed babies and they're on the end of big boobs and all of that. Masculine folks don't typically engage in nipple play. They won't ask for it because of the feminized, understanding of nipples, but they won't stop you once they realize how good it feels either. So, understanding, like just ask them, are you cool with trying it? Consent is key. And then once they realize how good it feels, you're not going to have to you won't have to have a whole conversation about it ever again. But I think
They'll know.
Yeah, they'll know. I think I think masculine folks often limit what their accesses to pleasure could be, just probably as a result of some sort of homophobic undertones that our society still has. But yeah, I think nipple orgasms, I think it's just an awareness and kind of maybe believing that it could be pleasurable kind of thing. But
Yeah.
feminine folks know. The femmes know. The masks, not
Yes.
so much.
Yes. Okay, what maybe, yeah, you're talking about culture now, which is so like part of this and like part of some of the
Mm-hmm.
questions that we have here, but what are three other ones that you mentioned that we are going to go through at the end of our interview? What are three other ones from the list?
Vaginal,
Vaginal.
pelvic,
Oh, yeah. Oh, and birthgasm.
and birthgasm.
Let's go
Mm-hmm.
over those three towards the end because I want to
Okay.
continue on with kind of people's ideas of orgasm, and we're going to talk more about kind of like stereotypes and culture and upbringing and things like that. But my next
Mm-hmm.
question here for you is like, why do you think that so many people are stuck in a very narrow definition of what orgasm is supposed to be, aka people with vulvas only think ew, the penis and vagina is
Mm-hmm.
the way that you're supposed to achieve orgasm, and people with penises, a lot of them are like, well, I only want to orgasm with my penis. Like, what do you think is behind that?
It's cultural. I think that the pressures, the patriarchies, the gender roles are narrow. Specifically, even if you dive deeper into like racial discord or what have you, you have like the definition of black masculinity is so narrow. But now the internet is ruining all men all the time. Men can't eat hot dogs in public. They can't drink out of straws. They can't order dessert. Ordering dessert is sassy, and I
Oh
really hate
gosh.
that because they're like, first of all, sassy is not the worst thing you could be. Secondly, everyone likes dessert.
Right.
Okay. And even though hot dogs aren't like no one wants to know what's involved in making them, they're delicious. So
Correct.
like I don't need to know. Just put some chili on it and call it a day. But
Ketchup,
but,
mustard, get all the accoutrement.
but because I say accoutrement all the time as well. But just I think the narrow definition, the narrow role, gender roles also feed into and spill out over into what our sexual pleasure expectations tend to be, and because the conversation around pleasure can be like intergenerational, where your mothers and your aunts are preparing, the feminine partner, and the uncles and the fathers and the grandfathers are preparing the masculine partners, and so you're getting these intergenerational messages around what pleasure should look like for you, what's appropriate for pleasure to look like for you. Or there's a conversation around if a person with a penis enjoys anal sex, are they gay?
Right.
right? Now, and it's like, no, but because people with vulvas have buttholes too. But it's that. I think it's just limiting in the sense of the puritanical undertones of Western society and culture.
Just casual. Yeah, I mean, it's so rooted in, like you said, in homophobia. And I think media
Mhm.
for a very long time really played into this of like the no
Mhm.
homo jokes. Like it's so subtle in some like capacities. And
Yeah,
of
some things
course,
are subtle. It's part of our language. It's like part of the nomenclature of culture. Like I heard someone say, "Oh, that's a little sweet," and I was like, "What are you trying to say? What do you mean a little sweet?" And they didn't think anything of what they were saying.
right.
And then when we unpacked what they said, they were like, "Oh man, I can't say that. Like I can't say that anymore. That's crazy." Like you know what I'm saying? Like or
Mhm.
they like a couple of guys playing basketball. Like, "Oh, pull your skirt down." Excuse me.
Right, right, right.
Like, you know what I'm saying? And it's so integral in like trash talk, and you're trying to embarrass people, you're trying to insult people. And the language, the way that you're trying to insult people is insulting a whole nother group of people that are catching strays and have nothing to do with it. So I
Right.
think pleasure is limited as a result of just that part of the culture.
Yeah, I mean, I even think about this when, people call each other pussies derogatorily, when of course we
Right.
know as people with vulvas, we're like, we're very strong and vaginas, pussies can really do a lot, actually.
More than a penis can do.
More than a penis can do, more
They're
nerve
not pushing
endings.
babies out of
They're
penises.
not pushing babies out of penises because
They're
people
not
they
bleeding out of penises once a month either.
exactly sing
Like
it.
y'all not doing nothing but peeing and coming, and that's it. That's all that
And
penis
maybe
does.
squirting now that we're finding out that
Yes,
penises squirt.
squirting now. Yes, but that's
um
you know what I'm saying. It's because because what happens really is it's aligning with a feminine, and because feminine is the worst thing you could possibly be as a man,
mhm.
which perpetuates a whole nother lane of missia and phobia. Like it's just I think it's all interconnected. It really really is.
Completely. Completely. So we've gotten a few, well, more than a few, a lot actually over the years of like listener messages, right? Of people being like, I have never had an orgasm, or I
Mm.
don't know if I've had an orgasm, or I don't know what counts, or people saying like, okay, like I did feel like a peak, but it went away quickly, or there's a lot of confusion I feel like that people have around like what is an orgasm in their own body, especially if they were taught that masturbation was so wrong at a young age that they stopped
Mm.
doing it or they didn't do it until they're later in life. So I'm wondering like what do you say to people who say that, and where do you think this like how does this insecurity get squashed for people? What's your recommendation for people who say this?
Well, the first thing I tell them is all orgasms look different. And
Mm,
so if you're not just because if you think you haven't had an orgasm because you're not coming the way the people in the movies do or the way the people in the porn do, then you're setting yourself up for disappointment because every orgasm doesn't look that way. Also, if they say they've never had one, and I'll say, okay, well, what kind of experience do you have with trying to achieve one? Right? What kind of sexual stimulation are you getting? Is it just masturbation? Is it with a partner? Are you having sex that you enjoy with that partner? When you are you masturbating? Are you using lubricant? And that is regardless of what kind of genitals you have, lubricant is your friend. So
yes.
like asking the deeper questions, and then I'm like, okay, well, what do you eat in a day? What do you drink? Right? Do you
Mm,
smoke anything? Okay. Do you work from home? Are you sitting on your butt all day? Like what else? Because I try to unpack all of the barriers to entry for orgasm land and then just one by one kind of pick through what could be some things that are maybe keeping you from orgasm. Are you not enjoying your part? You mad at your partner and you're having obligatory sex. So that you're not going to enjoy that sex anyway.
right.
Right. So like things like that. I just ask a lot of questions. But the first thing I tell them is all orgasms don't look the same and they definitely don't look like they do on television. In the movies, the people that are having sex come at the same time
Right.
together.
He
And
rolls off of her. Ah,
even in same-sex love scenes, they come at the same time. And I'd be
right.
like, like even the same-sex scenes, and I'm just like, for real? The heteros are over here, like the straights are ruining it for the gays now. Like it's just, but it's that. It's like, you climax together, the birds chirp, the sky's open, and then you just collapse on the bed simultaneously. Like
Exactly.
that's not what it looks like for everyone. And
For most
especially
people.
if most people, and if you're not connected to your pleasure in that way, or you've been thinking about what has to go, what home repairs need to happen, or your errands list, if you're not engaged in the sex in real time, your physical health, your general health can be also. So what people don't realize too is if your sexual health is impacted, it could be a symptom of a larger general health issue. Or maybe you're not drinking enough water. Maybe you skipped leg day. Maybe you, and I will also say that I've never had a person with a penis come to me and say I've never had an orgasm. Never.
And you've been doing this work for a long time.
20 years. It'll be 20 years at the end of the year. Yes.
Hey, happy 20 years.
Thank you. 19 and a half.
Wow.
So yeah, like I've been doing this a very long time, and I get that question. If I had $1 for every time I got that question, I could probably buy a car. But
you'd be rich.
Like a nice car. A nice car.
Yeah.
But I think because it's mystery, the vaginal orgasm is such a mystery. And because media plays this up to be this very accessible orgasm type, like the most accessible orgasm type, and it's not. A vaginal orgasm is a blended orgasm. It's not just the in and out, right? And it's angle, rhythm, pressure, stroke, wetness, firmness, depth, girth, arousal, position, pressure. Like it's so many different things.
Oh, I love that. That felt like a poem.
You know what? And I list them in my head. I say I'm going to write something like that because every time I say it, someone says that, and I don't say it the same way every time because I'm trying to think about all the things that feed into a vaginal orgasm. It's also blended because it's clitoral, it's pressure, it's all the things, and so people think because media tells them a vaginal orgasm should be easy, and the reason they do that is because on the front end it's us, right? But on the back end, if every woman thinks they're supposed to, or every feminine person thinks they're supposed to easily reach orgasm, then they get to fake it to stroke the ego of whoever they're having sex with.
And that's really the main issue here.
That's the gotcha of it all, because then, they feel like they're good, right? And I think when we have conversations around sex, receiving partners their pleasure isn't really mentioned. It's always the inserting partner's pleasure that is at the focus. And they can't really take their orgasms in the same way. So.
Right. And there's so much, there's so much.
And those are easy. Penile orgasms are so easy. Frenulum orgasm is so easy. Yes. So they're going to get theirs regardless.
Right. And I think there's so much, even if someone is like not faking it and they like know how to communicate their needs to their partner, there still is more time that a person with a vulva needs to warm up for the wetness, for the angles, for the fantasy, for whatever
Penises
it
too,
is.
Though. Penises need about 20, 30 minutes too. The reason why folks have erectile disappointment or premature ejaculation is because they're fucking with half-baked erections. They didn't freeze the oven enough time either.
Wow. Okay, so, that is enlightening. That's interesting.
And if they knew that, if they listened and knew that, maybe they'd spend more time on foreplay for everyone.
Wow. Okay. That's a piece of good knowledge that was just dropped. That's really important. And I was going to say that even when the person with the vulva is in the zone of knowing what they want and how to communicate it and they're taking their time, there still is this overtness of do I smell okay? How am I looking? How am I feeling? And that is all culture and what we're taught as people who are feminine, who AFAB women, people who are, brought up to say you need to look and smell and act presentable.
You gotta be able to get a man, keep a man, catch a man, look good to a man. I call that Peter Griffin syndrome.
Okay, from Family Guy, I'm assuming.
From Family Guy, because Lois, in cartoon land, Peter is the average American guy.
Right.
And in cartoon land, Lois is fine. She got curves. She's cute. You know what I'm saying? So and you'll see that in a lot of sitcoms and things like that. So I guess I call it sitcom instead of Peter Griffin. I'm gonna pick on Peter like that. But like you get the average guy, super average, like almost a C minus, and he's got this cute, petite, hot, pleasant
Oh yeah.
wife. Homer Simpson. Pete, from King of Queens.
Exactly. I was thinking of him too.
You know what I'm saying? Even the Huxtables.
Right.
Cliff was mid, but Claire.
Fresh Prince also. We're talking Fresh Prince.
Yeah, and then I hate how they add weight too, because the guys are typically like heavier,
bigger,
as if that's some sort of undesirable. But what happens, I think, is that they're doing it to position the average overweight American man to say you can pull a baddie too.
You can achieve, yes,
you can achieve this, and because we've been taught that our orgasms aren't as important, and they should be easier if something wrong with us. And we have to be worried about our smell and how we look, and we're socialized to be polite and presentable and pleasant, and all of the things. And we also have these insecurities built in through how we've been raised. Yes, our self-esteem is low enough that Peter Griffin can pull Lois because we don't know. You know what I'm saying? The holes are poked early.
Yes.
I heard somebody say we were born relentless. We were taught to relent. And that, again, femmes, we're born a certain way, and then we're taught, keep your head up, your dress tail down, a lady in the streets, freaking, you know what I'm saying? Like, you get, good manners, be a young lady. I've definitely gone to etiquette. I am in the South as well, but I've definitely taken etiquette class. My grandmother didn't talk to me for 6 months because I didn't want to be a debutante.
Wow.
If I knew then what I knew now, I would have debuted, okay? But I didn't know. I was fighting the system.
Yeah, respect.
The networks that come with that, I should have debuted. I was tripping. But I'm just saying, so that is very much where I come from, right? And so we do, you sit like a lady in a chair with your ankles crossed, but it's all under the guise of attraction and being attractive and being able to secure a partner that can elevate your status in life and blah, blah, blah. And even the city girls, the young girls that's out here, twerking, it's the same thing. They're trying to be attractive. And there's a difference between attracted to and interested in, but that's a whole nother episode. But, what I'm saying? There is still a level of trying to get a man, keep a man, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
And the assumption that everyone is straight is crazy. And then...
Okay, wait, let's talk about this now, because I think I'm wondering also... Speaking of not everyone's straight, Pride just ended. Also, yeah, happy Pride
over here, but yes,
Pride will continue. But
yes.
I'm wondering, like, how does expanding our definition of orgasm actually shift things for folks who have been left out of mainstream sex ed? So we're talking about queer folks, we're talking about disabled folks, trauma survivors. Like, how is kind of like fighting back and teaching people about orgasms and the different kinds that people can achieve on all kinds of bodies? How does that expand the definition and change things?
This question just made my soul light up. So because it's not just P and V, some people don't have access to their P's and V's. Some people are not having sex with P's and V's. Sometimes it's 2 P's, sometimes it's 2 V's, right? Mm-hmm. So sometimes it's 3 V's. I don't know. So I'm not here to judge, okay? I just want you to have the healthiest, safest, most pleasurable sex you can, regardless of what kind of sex you're having. Yes. And I think, like, including disability, including limited range of motion, and like I said, when we were talking about nipple orgasms, I was very specific with everyone has nipples outside of medical intervention. Mm-hmm. It's my daily thought process as to how my language can encapsulate as many people as possible.
Yeah.
Because if I say everyone has nipples, they're going, but this person doesn't, or this, or I had, some breast cancer survivors and all of these things. I know that. Mm-hmm. And so I'm going to go ahead and say it early so you can't actually mean the comment.
Right.
Because you have, and things become clickbait. So you got to say it as succinctly as possible. So, totally. but introducing different kinds of orgasms, the different kinds of orgasms to different bodies, different abilities, all of that stuff is expansive and inclusive. And so, you may not, maybe you have a vertebrae, maybe one of your use a wheelchair, and maybe your penis is not where you experience pleasure at this time, but a skingasm will get you there, right? Perhaps anal exploration would be your friend. You know what I'm saying? Your nipples, especially if there's a spinal injury where the nipples are still sensitive, like that can be a whole nother new area of pleasure to explore. And so I think that it's more inclusive, and as we stretch understanding of pleasure, it includes more people. And it not only includes more people, the people that were already included get more things. Like, it's like often we look at equity as like smaller pieces of pie, but no, when you take care of the least of us, the most of us get they benefit as well, right? And so I'm just excited to see how that can do. Like when I teach my rideology class, I teach it twice a year to the women and partners of people with spinal cord injuries because they're always on top.
Yes. Wow.
Right.
So really it's giving them like the information and access to their own pleasure in a lot of ways.
Yes. And I teach the ways that people learn, right? So I do audio, visual, and kinesthetic. So in my workshops, even on Zoom, I have somebody with me and I'm climbing on top of somebody to show how the bodies fit together. You know what I'm saying? And when I teach it in person, everybody's climbing on top of everybody to see how the bodies fit together. You're going to leave here knowing what it feels like in your body, right? And so when we start to expand and discuss the different kinds of orgasms, other people can go, oh, I did. You know what? I think I've had a nipple orgasm before. Or I think I've had a U-spot orgasm before. Oh, I told him I loved him and it was wrong. You know, I had an A-spot orgasm. It wasn't him. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Let's talk about solo sex. Masturbation is powerful. It reduces stress, improves sleep, and helps you get to know your body. One of my go-to tools is Uberlube. It's smooth, long-lasting, and enhances every touch. It's great with condoms, amazing for reducing chafing, and it even works as a hair serum. Athletes and stylists swear by it. If you're curious, give it a try. Use code SEXEDWITHDB for 10% off at uberlube.com and see why I love it for pleasure and beyond. What if using a magic wand every day could actually improve your health? I ran a 21-day masturbation experiment to find out, and the results were so powerful we turned it into a full-blown scientific study. Over 1,000 people with vulvas joined to measure the impact of daily magic wand use on pleasure, stress, sleep, confidence, relationship connectivity, and more. I'll tell you something right now. The effects go way beyond amazing orgasms. Want to see what we found? Head to magicwandstudy.com to check out the study that's redefining sexual wellness. We talked about vaginal, birthgasm, and then we talked about blended, and then I also want to talk about, or cervical blended skin. Can we delve into those 5 actually? Because I feel like I want to tell me about birthgasms. Let's talk about that.
So I always, when I talk about birthgasms, I start this way because it moves something in me, and I feel like I want to share it with folks. So the Kama Sutra is a holy text. A lot of people don't know that. It's built on the thought process that orgasm is as close as you can get to God without dying.
Oh my God.
Right? So in practice and theory, the Kama Sutra is a praise and worship book to show you positions to help you orgasm to get closer to God. Right? Wow. So if that's the case, and we're going to hold the thought process that orgasm is as close as you can get to God without dying, and then you add birthgasm to the mix. So now I'm giving birth while I'm as close to God as I'm going to get.
Wow.
Like, powerful. I would think the energy that would bless that infant, you know what I'm saying? Like, I think the baby would be like a supreme being. You know what I'm saying? Like, so, but to connect orgasm to birth, and if orgasm is as close as you can get to God, like, that is a sacred and spiritual and powerful moment. And so, I mean, to me, it just solidifies the fact that everything in the world is about sex. Sex is about power.
Whoa.
Because if who's more powerful than God? And even if you don't believe in God, people that don't believe in God spend a lot of time trying to prove trying to prove that they don't exist.
Right.
So that's still power. You don't believe in me, but I live rent free in your head.
Everyone has some sort of relationship, whether they believe or not, because it's everywhere. Like it's many
everywhere.
People.
Even if it's nature, even if it's like I can because nature is a gift as well. So like any of that, and I tell people all the time, I got God but no religion, so I can't get into it with folks. I have reverence and respect for all the ways people believe, whether it lines up with mine or not. I feel like God is not a, man or a woman. God is an energy. And if we are all created in God's image, if we are all, even if you want to say God is the parent, the father, what have you, right? If God is the parent and created us all, I have 4 kids. I talk to all my kids differently. I know that kid, I can't talk to that kid that way. So God knows how to handle each group of kids they created. So that means that all the religions are just ways that God talks to that group of kids.
Wow,
right? And
that's powerful.
and that's how my daddy taught it to me. So that's what I work with.
Yeah.
So, and I know my Bible, honey, because I'm Southern. And so it's really, and I'm church, so I can get a little bit of anywhere. But they don't, when they find out I'm not a Christian, they're like, oh, and I'm like, don't worry about it. I say, I believe in God. I don't care who that baby's daddy is. Like, that's.
I mean, you're also, talking about birthgasms, and you're explaining kind of the connection between people and God and the universe and energy and new life.
That's bigger than us. Yes, a power that's bigger than us. How that the act of orgasm is somehow like maybe adding energy to it. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
Like just like that. It's sublime to me. It's sublime.
Wow. Okay. That's so amazing. That's a birthgasm. Let's talk about the skingasm. I want to learn more about that, because you talked about how also folks with disabilities could also potentially access this pleasure.
Absolutely. And I think, they say, like you take your sight away, your other senses are heightened, etc. And so with a skingasm, I think that absolutely would show up for folks with disabilities or people, even people that people that have survived some sort of ailment to their genitals or sexual organs. Like the skin just is such a big sex organ that it depends on how you like to be stimulated, right? So if it's a tickle, if it's a kiss, a lick, a bite, a squeeze, a slap, like all of those things can bring someone to orgasm.
Yes.
And it feels like an amplified, you know how when you catch a chill, it feels like an amplified that.
Yes. Okay. We, many years ago on the podcast, had on Rafe Biggs, who is someone who is a wheelchair user and is paralyzed from the waist down. And he is able to reach orgasm through touching his thumb.
Yes, I've seen that. Absolutely.
So interesting to me.
Yes, your body is going to make sure you can have pleasure.
Right.
Your body is going to make sure that pleasure is yours. And so if that happens, and I think where he had his injury, his spinal cord injury, so he had chest, he had access to like everything above the navel. And so it just sort of redirected. The brain was like, okay, well, we're not using this in the same ways anymore. So let's move it over here.
Yeah.
And they copied and pasted it to the thumb.
So fascinating. I love this
idea. The brain is outstanding.
It truly is.
I feel like that's what, people say, oh, God is in you because God made you, right? All the things that the brain can do. The brain will save you from pain. It'll make you pass out instead. Right. And then when you wake it, and then the nerve endings around wherever that trauma was will be deadened, because that way you won't feel the pain in the same way. The brain saves you from
survival. Yeah.
It's like, what?
You're right. It's so wild, and we're really lucky to be alive and be here and be able to experience this pleasure, especially amidst all the bullshit and pain and suffering that is going on in the world. One thing people can really have access to always is their own pleasure. And I'm wondering,
I always say that pleasure is revolutionary, because even when you're on the front lines and all those things, it's restorative. It gives you back your energy. It brings, the endorphins and the joy to help balance out the revolution. Right. And so I think it gets lost in the sauce sometimes when people think, oh, we don't have time for that. We have to focus on this. We got to do this thing. But where are you going to get that energy from? Where are you going to get that boost from? How are you going to sleep better at night? Because you're up racing. Your mind is racing, thinking about whatever revolution you're on. Right. But you have a good orgasm, you're going to sleep well. Yes. So, it's here for you,
Yes.
And so, yeah, I totally agree. It's underrated.
It is really underrated. And I think, okay, before we transition, this has been so wonderful also. You are a wealth of knowledge. You have so much information. I love learning from you.
My ADHD is paying off.
No, it's great. I think that you have so much energy and love and light that you're providing when you're talking about this. Like, it really comes through. And I'm wondering, like, what is something that people can start doing today that might help them feel more in tune with their own orgasmic potential?
Mm. Okay, that's a great question. I teach a workshop called Sensual Intelligence, right? Where we highlight the difference between sensuality and sexuality. So my working definition of sensuality is experiencing non-sexual pleasure through all six of the senses: sight, sound, taste, touch, scent, and feel, right? Because when you can experience non-sexual pleasure readily through your body, it'll make sexual pleasure that much more accessible, right? And so the homework from that workshop, because I'm very much a homework girly,
Yes.
is to take a shadow shower. And a shadow shower is when you're in a shower that you're familiar with, okay? Yours, somebody else's, what have you. Sometimes your friends have a nicer shower. So you get a shower that you're familiar with. No lights, no candles, no music, nothing. Because again, your eyes will adjust. So then you take your shower, you experience your shower through all six of the senses. So sight, your eye is dark, but your eyes have adjusted so you can kind of see the things, right? Sound, the sound of the water, the sound of your breathing, right? I like to mouth my words, my day into the water. The good parts, the bad parts, especially when I'm frustrated and I feel like it just rinses down the drain. So I can start over, right? So it's very restorative in that way. So that's sound. So sight, sound, taste. You taste the water. You can sometimes you can taste your soap in the air, and it has a different energy around you, right? So taste, sight, sound, taste, touch, scent, the smell of whatever cleaning products you're using, body wash, any of that stuff. It's just the smell of that. It automatic, olfactory senses are really like the strongest ties to memory. It'll put you in a hopefully relaxing space because it's your solitary cleansing time, right? So then the sight, sound, taste, touch, scent, and the feel, the energy in your bathroom is different. I don't know why. I feel like it's because it's where you get rid of all your shit, no pun intended, right? Like you go in there, you clean yourself, all of the things, you flush things away, all of it. And so it's like a restorative space. But then when you turn the water on, you feel that humidity on your skin, right? So that feel is different. That touch is different. You get to feel your body. Do I need to shave? Do I need to put more soap here? You know what I'm saying? All of the things. And so you're touching and paying attention to your body in a way that is not utility. Usually people are not naked unless they're washing, changing clothes, or having sex. But if you can't see, then you actually have to touch yourself and connect with yourself and pay attention to maybe you need to exfoliate on your elbows. You know what I'm saying? And just sort of take inventory, take stock. And so it brings you more to center of yourself, which will prepare you to go into the world and see how your senses are delighted in non-sexual ways, which will prepare you to go into your intimate space with your partner or by yourself and see how your senses are delighted in sexual ways. And how you can engage, right? So you're not just kissing someone anymore. Now you're sharing the same breath.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? And so it helps you become more sensually aware. So you move through the world with an intentional gratitude for just all the yumminess that exists, like the sun on your shoulders, etc. And then when it's time to be in a sexual space, you're not just sucking a dick. You're thinking about the firmness of, on the softness of your mouth and the depth and how big your mouth is filled and how much wetness you have and how they hold their breath in anticipation of what you're going to do next. And then how their whole body melts when you do it. Right. So it adds a sensual layer to your sexual experiences to make you more connected to your pleasure and body to get you to the orgasms.
Yes, you're so right. And, we had on Whitney Miller, who does BDE moves on a few weeks ago. And I love her so much. And she's a good pal of mine. And she also talked about how, it starts outside of the bedroom. Like, in order to connect to yourself and anyone else, it starts outside of the bedroom. And I love this idea of the shadow shower. I think it's such
and
a
people are like,
brilliant idea.
can I do it with my partner? Can I do? No.
Only for you.
No, they need to do it too.
Right.
Actually. And then if you want to do it with your partner and you are both actually engaged in the activity, not in each other, or maybe be bathing each other, but understanding that it's a non-sexual exercise, then possibly. But you got, it's levels to this shit. You got to get to that. You can't just start off like that. So
I love it. I love it so much. You're so brilliant. You have so many smart things to say. So
Thank
I'm
you.
so happy that you're here. And again, I said this in the beginning, but when we did our blowjobs or performance art, I knew I would need to have you back on. So I'm so glad that you're here. I think we have one final segment before we say goodbye, and that is
Okay.
our sex toy dream team. I would love for you to build a little lineup of 3 toys that really can help people experience orgasm in ways that they may not be used to. So maybe this is like the underrated sex toy dream team. Can you share 3 things that you think and what kinds of pleasure they would give people?
Woo, you asked the best questions. Okay. So my dream team is the rose, a finger vibe, and a wand.
You knew right away. Okay, tell me more about
Because
what these products
they are
are.
the dream team. So the rose, because of course it's a suction toy, right? But it makes a great nipple sucking toy. It's a great clit sucking toy. You can put it on the frenulum of the penis in addition to a blowjob or something like that. So it has multi-use, but that suction that it creates is really, I haven't met a human that can do it yet. And
Mm,
so it's like it does something, so it helps you explore pleasure in a way that you may not be able to explore without it, because it does something that the human body, to my knowledge, does not yet do. Right. And
not
so,
yet.
so the rose, and it's small, it's not penis shaped, it's great for all. I think it's cute. You sit on the dresser, it's great.
Mhm.
The finger vibe, because it's very, very versatile, because you can use it on a vulva, you can use it on a penis, you can use it on a penis, like have it on your finger during like the stroke motions for masturbation or during oral sex. You can put it on the testicles and sort of juggle the balls with the vibrating finger ring in your hand, the finger vibe in your hand. It's great for like nipple play and things like that. It adds a rumble to a choke, right? So you get another,
Mm.
your breathing is restricted, but it has this hum to it that you didn't put there, right? So it's just so versatile. And I love it because, again, it's not intimidating. It's almost seamlessly added into play. It's not like a big bulky thing that you have to come and bring. You don't have to.
Right.
So that's why I love that one. And then a wand. And I honestly, I have a big wand that I love, but I have a little travel wand. I call it the Mini Mighty, that I love. It's my go-to travel toy. That and the rose. Um, but I think wands add a rumble, right? So the rose has the suction, the finger vibe has like a bzzz, but the wand adds a rumble.
Bum,
And
bum,
if
bum,
you're
bum, bum, bum,
having
bum,
any
bum.
sort of insertive sex and you put, let's say your partner is inside, they're connected, and then the receiving partner uses the wand on any part of their genitals. So if you're the receiving partner and you have a penis, run that wand up and down your penis. Put that wand on your testicles. If you have a vulva and you're the receiving partner, put that wand on your clit. They can feel the rumble through your body. So not
Mm.
only are you getting the action, they're getting it too. And so it just adds layers to the pleasure. It's also great to put under your chin when you're performing oral sex, because you don't have to hum anymore. Now you can worry about your lip and tongue placement and suction and wetness and all of that, and just leave the vibration to the wand, whether you are performing oral sex on a vulva or a penis, people. You can put that wand under your chin,
Yes.
and you can work smarter, not harder, and they can feel the vibration through your mouth. So that's why. So that's my dream team: the rose, the finger vibe, and the wand,
Love
for
it.
the reasons so listed.
I love it. Thank you so much. You are so wonderful. You just have so much great information and make people feel so warm and included, and it's just
Yay.
it's very clear that this is your 20th year. So congratulations.
Although I
Um
look like I started when I was 5. So,
exactly. Not a day over 25. Where can people find you if they want to learn more?
my website is askgoody.com. And then if you want to like buy pleasure tools or something from me, you have to go to shopaskgoody.com, because I had to separate those. And then
Love it.
social media and stuff like that, I'm Ask Goody everywhere, because my bachelor's is in business and I know how I need to be easy to find.
And there you have it. Ask Goody on all platforms, askgoody.com, shopaskgoody.com.
Yes.
And yes, so folks, beautiful listeners, please stick around for the afterglow, where we're going to wind things down, reflect on big takeaways, and leave you with one juicy thing to try, think about, or explore before next week. Goody, thank you so much for being here. You're
Of
the best.
course.
Yeah, Goody. So incredible. Talking to her really cracked something open for me. I think like the shadow shower tip was so brilliant, and really like tuning into your senses on purpose without rushing, without a goal, really reminds us that pleasure should not be performative. Like, you do not need to be turned on to be connected to your body. I also really love the joy that I hear in Goody's voice when she talks about different orgasm types. It's not like a checklist to get through, like a to-do list, but it's a reminder that there are so many ways to feel good in our bodies and with our partners. And we might already be having these different kinds of orgasms and just not have the language for it yet. And there's still so much more studying to do. As Goody mentioned, she learned about a new orgasm type just recently, and she's been doing this work for 20 years. So yeah, it's amazing to hear her talk all about her education and still how far we have left to go to learn about the human body. We have so much more capacity for pleasure than we even realize. And that, yeah, it brings me hope. It brings me cheer. I'm excited about that. Here is your pleasure practice of the week. Take one of Goody's ideas and try it. Like, maybe that's the shadow shower. Maybe it's turning off the lights. Maybe it's lighting a candle. No music, no distractions, just you and your senses. And just notice where your mind goes. What sensations stand out for you? Let it be tender. Let it be quiet. Let it be reflective. Let it be whatever you need. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm so excited about next week's episode. I don't want to spoil it, but come back and you're going to absolutely love it. Yeah, love y'all.